start?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to talk about pillars.
Yes, sir.
And I think that since we're here, it talks about preparing students for phase X1, Pillar 1. I think I've got some people right here that would love to talk about it, and I'm going to start with Chad Thompson, but I want to make sure that Mr. Lindsay gets in too, because he's a product of this next phase.
Very good. So we're going to do introductions or we're jumping right in?
Depends on time. Whether you want us to intro or
You can say your name and title and jump right in.
we can do that quick. Steve Ellis, Superintendent, Nash County Public Schools.
Elizabeth Smith, Assistant Superintendent of Academic Services and County.
Christy Grant, I'm Student Services Director and Special Education.
Jeannie Kerr, I'm Director of Project Aware, which oversees mental health and SEL initiatives.
Diane Wright, math teacher here, parent of a student here, and school improvement team chair.
Frederick Lindsay, 13th grader and student ambassador for National.
I'm Chad Thompson, Executive Director for Career and Technical Education.
I'm Heather Louise Stench, Executive Director of Communication.
Leon Sferra Jr. and Associate Superintendent for National County Public Schools.
Thomas McGay, Proud Principal, Early College High School.
So who's going to lead off?
I think I was told I was going to lead first, so first of all, of course, I'm Career and Technical Education, and I would like to say, to start off, that our superintendent is a strong supporter of career and technical education. He supports us, and it helps tremendously with the work we're trying to do. So we're excited about CTE. CTE is big for us in this district. We have, just to give you a quick number breakdown for unduplicated enrollment, we are in the around 70 percentile of all middle school and high school taking a CTE course or a pathway. We have, right now, our credentials have increased tremendously. We are at running this past year, around 60% proficient. We've come from about 40% from that the year previous. Our students earned around 5,200 credentials last year, so we were excited about that, and we're looking for great things this coming year as well. So we do a lot of things with our students. We have a continuum that works from elementary all the way through post-secondary. What we try to do is expose at our elementary, explore at our middle school, and engage our students in those pathways and narrow those pathways in high school, and then prepare even after that at post-secondary. We have done a lot of things to do this. We have community events that we bring in, CTE showcases, where our parents, our community, our business and industry are able to engage in the things that we do to prepare students for careers in our district. We're excited to say, I do want to go back to some numbers. Our duplicated numbers are that we have 9,395 students, and those will be courses as well, involved in our CTE programs. So we're very excited about that as well. We're doing well on our students who are involved in our work-based learning opportunities. They actually involve our internships. We have great relationships with our business and industry, where our students go in and they have paid and unpaid internships. We work with colleges with some pre-apprenticeship opportunities as well. And so we feel like that we're doing number one, our students are doing an excellent job, but we were trying our best to prepare our students for the future in their career.
Thank you so much for sharing that. You will see in Pillar 1, I think a good emphasis on career and technical education, and this idea that every student, when they walk across the graduation stage, will have taken and passed a career and technical education course, as well as an advanced placement or IB or Cambridge International course as well. Right? So part of what I like to tell folks is we ought to be at a place where students are deciding what's next for them, as opposed to we as adults deciding for them. And so exposing and giving them the opportunities on multiple tracks of higher level opportunities, and then they make whatever choice they make. And we're supporting that choice.
And if I may, I'd like to add one more piece, is something that we have brought in as an initiative this year, is our Exploration Mobile Lab. It's full of all types of things, from a robotic arm with Bannock to teach about advanced manufacturing and those things. Also, a lot of it's virtual reality, where students are able to do things like painting doors that would lead into courses over here at National Community College, welding, also with backhoe simulators, forklift simulators. So what we're really trying to do is bring students in with hands-on.
Very good, very good, wonderful. We'll want to learn more about these virtual opportunities, because, yeah, in order for students when they get to high school to know what courses they might want to take, having more exposure and opportunities in elementary and middle school makes a ton of difference. Very good. Brenda.
I'm gonna segue into something though. And I think about when Frederick was in here discussing his experience here, and as a superintendent, you always think about, so how does this kid feel about this school? They talk about opportunities, which is what Chad just talked about. And now, but he also talked about relationships. He talked about what he felt about his teachers, and that's why I think it's so important when we brought Christopher and Jeannie Kerr in here, because that mental health piece. And you know, when you're in my seat, I wish we could have tons of early colleges, because when you listen to him, it worked. It worked. So how do I get this concept into a bigger setting so that those kids can feel like they have opportunities, they have relationships with teachers? So I really would like you ladies to talk about this mental health piece, because I think that's going to be something we always need to think about with the students.
Right, and I do firmly believe that the trajectory that our district has been on with academic excellence has been because of us really focusing on addressing the whole child, and really looking at the positive school climate as is in Pillar 4, and really looking at those mental health supports. And Jeannie, and here at Early College, one of the programs that we've been doing really speaks to what you were talking about. So Jeannie, I want you to talk about peer group connection, because it does. I know we were talking about that earlier with Frederick, if you will, please, because you kind of really spearheaded that. It's exactly talking about the relationships that we have been trying to spread over to another school.
So with that peer group connections program, it really addresses that character development, building skills, strengthening the mental wellness of the whole child for all of our students. And it is peer-led, which is what I love, because it really helps the older students, for instance, Frederick, for instance, develop his skills and their skills so that they can carry on. And I feel like that the character development, I think, is in all these pillars. It is embedded in everything those students do. We also offer a lot of more intensive mental health supports, because unfortunately, just like across the state, our district faces mental health needs. About 40% of students across the state, and it tracks in our district, have feelings of hopelessness, helplessness. We have about a 20% who report having suicidal ideations. There's that high level of anxiety and stress. And I feel like at the early college, there's about, I think it's 60 to 65% who are first generation college students. So that's that additional stress of them really wanting to succeed. And so being able to support them. And we do have great memorandums of agreement with our community mental health agencies, and we have since 2018. But one thing that's new through DPI is that position of the mental health clinician within the school districts. And we have found that to be so important, because 18% of our students are uninsured or underinsured. And so trying to get them served by our community agencies is very difficult. And we also have a lot of complex needs that intertwine with their academics. So having somebody on site within our school systems who can support that academic need plus that mental health need is so very important.
Thank you for sharing that. And you mentioned the peer group. How many students
Participating. So Mrs. Rank is one of our
So currently this year we have 18 peer leaders, which are all juniors and seniors that are the peer mentors. And then we have the entire freshman class and all of our incoming new 10th graders. So it's approximately 65.
And then looking at the data, so as Mrs. Kirk mentioned, she's been very instrumental in supporting funding and providing opportunities because our facilitators have to go through training for that, and they in turn conduct training for our upcoming peer group connection facilitators off campus during the summer for 3 days. So that has paid tremendous dividends for us. Again, high pressure environment, high number of students first generation, transitioning from a traditional middle school into a high school, and sometimes as we talked about in the hallway, not always wanting to come to an adult. Here's a chance to talk to a peer who has been through that experience and then can relate to them on a level that sometimes we don't able to achieve. So that's been a success story. And again, Mrs. Rank and her team, and Mrs. Kirk recognized last year. I think we were one of 2 schools in the South.
We were the only school in the southeast to get the gold standard.
Impressive.
Implementation.
Congratulations on that. Congratulations. And thank you so much for lifting up all of what y'all are doing and all of the challenges that exist. I mean, one of the things that we also know is we need more professionals to serve our students across the state, our counselors, our social workers, our school psychologists. So we know that that's got to be a piece of that puzzle too. Thank you for all you're doing with the resources that you currently have. Who's up next?
I would love to speak about Pillar 1 and the dual enrollment part of it. My dual enrollment experience has allowed me to find a career that I feel like matches what I want to do with my life. Because when I first came here, I kind of wanted to go into media and entertainment. And I took classes for that. I got internships through my counselors and my success coaches, and I realized that's not what I wanted to do. And as I progressed, I switched my major a lot while I was here. But as I progressed, I just was able to have access to opportunities like internships and just volunteer hours through like esteemed programs. And I realized what I wanted to do with my life. And just like right now, I'm in the health science track, and my success coach set me up with an internship at UNC Health and with hospice. And now I know that's exactly what I want for my future, is to help people through healthcare. And I just feel like I wouldn't have had that opportunity without the dual enrollment program here and being able to take classes, like college classes like biology and anatomy and physiology. And just having early access to that, I feel like really will help students in the next phase of their life. And I'm just very grateful for my experience.
Thanks so much for lifting it up. And really, North Carolina as a whole has done really well with dual enrollment, right? And at the same time, feel like we can do so much more. Right? Have great partners in our UNC system as well as our community college system, and even some of our private institutions as well. And so feel like this is a place where we can do absolutely a lot more and give more families and their children wonderful opportunities early on.
And if I could, I'd like to touch on Pillar 3 with the parental involvement. We had a group of scholars last year that participated in the North Carolina Market Trial program because we had a parent who's also an attorney. So she formed a club and prepared them, and they competed in that for the first time last year. And that goes back to the partnership with parents, but also the experiences that scholars have in this environment and encouraging them to prepare them, again, going back to Pillar 1 with success.
As we were sharing earlier, I think, again, there's always exceptions, but I think parents want to be involved. We just have to ask. And, maybe we have to figure out what that right thing is, given their sort of availability and resources. But parents want to.
Yes, sir.
And so to hear that a lawyer is doing a mock trial, that warms my heart.
So in that vein, I would like to talk about Pillar 2, which is Revere Public School Educators. We have 65 advanced teaching roles in our district, and it has been a game changer for us when we think about keeping our best teachers closest to the classroom, but also as a recruitment tool of shifting the mindset of our best teachers, working with our students that need the most support. And I feel strongly that a lot of the successes that we have experienced academically is because of our advanced teaching roles and the fact that we've given our master teachers an opportunity to extend their reach.
Yeah, and I was so impressed with the work that's been done around advanced teacher roles, and this idea that, you know, some of our very best teachers, we can keep them connected with actually teaching, because oftentimes what happens, nothing against administrators, but you know, we lose incredible teachers, right, to being, you know, good administrators, but maybe that isn't what they really were called to do. And so to give these folks that opportunity to sort of stay connected to the classroom with different models across the state, as to how it plays out. I think that's, I'm a big fan. We're trying to increase that as part of the strategic plan.
And for us, we rolled it out slowly and started in phases, so we call them cohorts. This year, no, last year was our last cohort, which was cohort 3. And we have advanced teaching roles in all of our elementary schools and 2 of our middle schools. My personal vision is to have advanced teaching roles in all of our middle schools and at least 1 of our high schools.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I know what kind of administrator you are. Just throw out that vision.
Well, I told her we have a mini budget right now. There won't be any codes.
That's right. You're finding the money. That's the role of the superintendent, right?
That's right.
Find the
And
resources.
resources.
Very good.
Along those lines, I have a question. So currently we have bonuses, performance bonuses for K or 3 through 8th grade teachers, but this school, if you notice all of the gold stars, our county has recognized us as exceeding growth. Is there a possibility that that will be extended to the high school teachers at some point?
98% proficiency on math, please.
Good question.
And a growth factor of like 7 point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, so let me put the cards on the table face up. Yeah, so I'm absolutely a believer in bonuses as a general concept. We utilized them when I was superintendent to recruit, retain, and grow, and improve outcomes in schools. I think we find ourselves needing to also, at the same time we want to focus on that, we've got to increase the base compensation that's paid to educators. So when I say putting the cards on the table face up, my first priority is how do we increase the base compensation of our teachers. And then we can have the conversations about bonuses and everything on top of it.
I guess I'll pick the last one. I think we need to celebrate the excellence of public education. And I think I could do a commercial right now with Frederick on it. But I think that we don't do a good job. And we got to do a better job. We have competition, just constant competition for everything now. We got to do a better job. Put people like him out there because we do a great job in Nash County. And I know, Heather, we talk about this all the time. How do we push out there the great things we're doing in nationals? We have to, because that cycle is spinning. And we're trying our best to figure out how we catch up.
Yeah, so,
One of the things that under mode and SNOW board and CASA, that data, we're really big at Nash on educating our community and educating our parents, and educating our county commissioners and board members as well of what's happening, because we know where the first streams are at the end of the day as well. And so just that you can teach and put things out there, but how are people retaining that? And I think it's so important, especially for the comps. And Alabama's departments do a great job of that.
Yeah, so, you know, it's a reason, there's a reason that that is part of the strategic plan. And probably one of the reasons that, you know, Governor Cooper asked me to come back in and to do this was there's a strong narrative against public education. Telling families to make other choices. And they do that in the way they do it is they talk negative about public education, so why would you want to put your child into a public school? And so part of then what we have decided to do was, you know, I was very intentional in hiring Mark as our Chief Communications Officer, as someone who really is about narrative change work and about and doesn't come from public education. Knows a bit about it. We've taught him a lot more.
Know some acronyms.
But really trying to recognize that we have to approach this work just differently, right? You know, when you think about the fact that in any given community, only about 25% of the adults actually have children in schools. You know, so part of what we have to do is certainly educate and work with the parents and get them to be champions of education, public education. But we actually also have to do that broadly, because 75% of the folks don't have children in schools, and so we have to spend time and resources being sure that we educate them and be sure that they're aware of the good things going on, because what they're bombarded with are the snapshots, right, of what's going on, and it's typically not the most positive things, right? And so then that's what they start to learn. But I think that the same way that the negativity has a way of growing, I think positivity does as well. And so that's where you see me talk about things like reverence of public educators, right? And really call on others to use that kind of terminology, to talk about things just as you have done throughout our time together. Lifting up all of the things that are really going well in our public schools. And the narrative will change. I feel confident about that. And you know, folks will find their way back into fully appreciating public education. It won't be easy, it won't happen overnight, but we don't make it happen.
And I would be remiss if I did not speak to Pillar 4.
Okay.
There's an African proverb that says, a child who's not embraced by its village will burn it down to fill its warmth. So one of the things that we have made an initiative in Nash County Public Schools is to ensure the safety of our students and our faculty. And so we have this thing in our department that we say hardware plus hardware. So it's not just about the physical securities that we have in place, because we have the eval machines, the weapon detection systems, we have cameras, we have a litany of other things, but we also focus on how do we create positive, supportive environments for children. How do we provide supports for mental health? How do we recognize that when we know that there's an issue, what support, what community supports do we have in place to help provide not just support for the child, but support for the family?
Thank you for lifting that up. And one thing that a number of you have caused me to think about and be sure that you likely saw it in the plan, but I just want to elevate. And that is networks. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be calling on cohorts of schools and school districts to lead the way in some efforts, right? And show then the rest of the state, here are some real samples of what can be done and done effectively. Those networks will also work with each other, sort of professional learning environments, so that they can learn from each other. And so I encourage y'all, when those networks are put up, to think about which ones you want to be a part of. Because we can support each other in this work and grow together. Yes, sir.
I would like to ask a question. I was wondering how students can be more involved in the change that's happening in the public school system. Because I feel like a lot of the times, I kind of feel like adults are making a lot of the decisions for us. And I would just like to hear how I can be a part of the change.
Yeah, so I think there are any number of different ways one can do it. And so I'll just share how we're thinking about it, right? And then, Nash County may already be doing this and may do some other things, right? So, and then I'll lift up sort of what I did when I was superintendent. So one of the things I did when I was superintendent of Guilford County Schools that I've now started here in this role is create a Students Advisory Council, right? And we met at least once a month, sometimes more often than that. And we talked about real issues, right? So when I first started, it was right when the Great Recession hit. And so we were having to make significant budget cuts and returning dollars to the state so the state could have a balanced budget. And all districts were having to do that. I went to the students and said, what do you think we should be cutting, right? And we brought huge spreadsheets, we educated them on district resources, and then really posed the questions to them. Right? What is it? And same thing now as superintendent. One of the things that we took to them was around cell phone usage. And what is it that how should we be thinking about these issues? Students have incredible answers. And so I think it's incumbent then on the adults to actually give a lot of space to students to be involved and to share opinions in multiple and varied ways. Right? So I think, one of the things that sort of happened as a result of that is almost so many of the schools in Guilford County created their own Students Advisory Councils. Right? And so then that just enriched the opportunity, enriched the school. And now you've got students who are involved in trying to improve outcomes for their schools. And as it turns out, in their communities. We also created things like, so you see in the plan around character development as part of the vision. That comes from my time in Guilford County Schools. I went into Guilford County, character education, I want to share with you. And I listened to parents and students, and what I heard was students don't understand their place in the world and how they can make an incredible impact on it. And so we translate, I took that back to the educators and said, tell me what we should do with that. And what they came back was making character development equally as important as academic outcomes. And so then what came out of that was, how do we help students understand all the things they can do to impact their school and broader communities, how they can advocate. We had trainings around how students can advocate more effectively. So these were the kind of things that we were trying to do. And so every community is going to be different, but I think it starts with allowing, in your own way, to the adults, is allowing students to have the capacity, have the voice, and give them opportunities, and then they'll run with it. And so, on the state level, we've identified our Students Advisory Council for this year, but I think that we're going to try to figure out other ways. We had, I'm told, more students raise their hand and say they wanted to be on my Students Advisory Council than predecessors have had. So we're trying to figure out other ways to have students get involved at the state level.
We get 10 that apply.
Yeah, it is. I mean, so it is. it is, isn't that wonderful? I mean, and so it's now about how do we make it, how do we engage all of those students in meaningful ways? And so we will we'll figure out ways to have students on our implementation. So there are like 110 actions. We'll have implementation teams. One of the things I'll be calling on my team members of DPI to do is figure out ways to either, if they're not on the implementation team, they need to be on an advisory team to help with the implementation of every action. Students they'll make it so much better. And so oftentimes, I'm not sure that's the way we think as adults, but we just have to give the space. And it'll be amazing what we get out of it.
Yeah, Frederick, you'll be on the districts. Since we just finished 68 nominations, Frederick will join Elisa Hassan, who was in our first one. They will be our student representative to Dr. Ellis's.
And it is, to listen to the students, it's something that really started us probably 4 or 5 years ago with a conversation. A 6th grader told me in the student advisory council, and I was asking, how can a kid who fails all the courses pass, and I pass everything, he doesn't get the time. And from that conversation started promotion standards for Nash County. And then we carried that one question to the teacher advisory council, principal advisory council, and the parent from that one kid. So you're exactly right. When you listen to them, that's what you're here for anyway.
Absolutely.
It's not adult thing.
It makes a huge difference. But you got to be open to it, right? You got to be willing to listen. You got to be willing to hear. Maybe you don't have everything on the ball, and here's how you might improve. So with that, if you can make that sort of the feeling of your organization, again, students will rise to it. I mean, I love, because students over time, like when I was superintendent of Guilford County Schools, I'd be at a football game and they'd just come up to me and they would just tell me, you need to be doing this. Right? But it makes a huge difference that, they're not on the Students Advisory Council, but they still feel like they can talk to nobody, and I'm willing to listen. So there are multiple and varied ways that it can happen. Other thoughts?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. No, thank you. If I just might end with a comment or two. Thank you so much for reviewing the plan. It means a lot. As I tell folks all the time, this is not Mo Green's plan. It's not the State Board of Education's plan. They approved it unanimously. It is ours. And so, if this is going to be successful, if we're going to be the best in the nation by 2030, I can't do it by myself. We have all got to do this, right? And so, figuring out your part in the puzzle is critically important. And so I look forward to working with folks at all different levels, pouring into us as we try to make us, we will have the best public education system in the country. We've checked the metrics already. We're, I would say in some instances, fair to good to very good. And so we're not starting from scrap on the bottom. And so how do we take from where we are to be elevated to being the best? And so I'm going to need you, need you to sign up to be part of networks. Need you to do wonderful work around communicating about the power of public education. Meet my students. The voices, you have incredible voices, right, that can celebrate all that's going well in public education in ways that will resonate. and maybe in vehicles that we as adults don't utilize exceedingly well. So, come along for this journey. And in the meantime, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to spend time with you, and thank you for all that y'all do.
Thank you.